To understand Jeet Kune Do, you must first understand that it is not a style in the classical sense. It is not a collection of rigid techniques, nor a set of pre-arranged forms to be memorized and repeated until they become second nature. Instead, think of it as a process of self-discovery through the medium of martial arts. My name is Bruce Lee, and I am the founder of this way, this approach to combat and to life. Jeet Kune Do, which translates to the way of the intercepting fist, is the direct result of a lifetime spent questioning, exploring and refining. It is the expression of my personal journey, a journey that I encourage every individual to undertake for themselves. It's not about adding more and more, but about hacking away the unessential. The name itself, the way of the intercepting fist, holds the key to its primary physical principle. The idea is to intercept an opponent's attack before it is fully executed, or even as it is being conceived. This is not merely a defensive maneuver, it is an offensive defense, a proactive measure that seizes control of the engagement's rhythm. It is about efficiency, directness, and simplicity. Why block an attack and then counter when you can do both in a single fluid motion? Why take two steps when one will suffice? Jeet Kune Do is the art of economy of motion, stripping away all that is fancy, all that is superfluous, to reveal the raw, effective truth of combat. It is a path toward honest self-expression in its most primal form. But to see Jeet Kune Do only as a method of fighting is to miss its deeper essence. It is a philosophy, a lens through which to view the world and your place within it. It demands that you be like water, formless, shapeless and adaptable. Water can flow or it can crash. It can fill any container, take any shape, yet it remains itself. That this is the goal for the practitioner, to be free from the confines of rigid systems, to adapt to any situation and to express oneself honestly and totally. It is a journey toward personal liberation, where the ultimate aim is not to defeat an opponent, but to conquer the limitations you have placed upon yourself. The techniques are merely a vehicle for this greater exploration of the self. Therefore, as we embark on this exploration, I ask you to empty your cup. Forget what you think you know about martial arts, about fighting, about styles. A cup that is already full cannot receive anything new. Approach this with an open mind, a beginner's mind, ready to absorb, to question, and most importantly, to discover your own truth. Jeet Kune Do is not my creation to be blindly followed. It is a signpost pointing toward a path. The path itself is one you must walk alone. It is the art of expressing the human body, a scientific approach to a very real and personal thing. This is the beginning of understanding the art of Jeet Kune Do. My journey into martial arts began with the traditional Wing Chun system, a beautiful and effective art for which I hold immense respect. Under the guidance of my Sifu IP man, I dedicated myself to its principles, its forms, and its techniques. I was a diligent student, absorbing everything I was taught, practicing relentlessly until the movements became an extension of my own body. For a time, this was enough. The structure and discipline of Wing Chun gave me a solid foundation, a strong root from which to grow. It taught me about center-line theory, simultaneous blocking and striking, and the importance of close-range combat. It was a vital and formative part of my development as a martial artist. However, as I grew and continued to test my skills, a sense of discontent began to stir within me. I found myself in real-life altercations, in street fights where there were no rules, no forms, and no respectful bowing. In these chaotic encounters, I realized that clinging to a single style, no matter how effective, was a form of bondage. An opponent would not always attack in a way that my Wing Chun training had prepared me for. They might be a boxer, a wrestler, or simply a wild brawler. I saw that reality was fluid, unpredictable, and messy. Relying on a fixed set of responses was like trying to build a dam with a single type of stone. Sooner or later, the water would find a way through. This realization crystallized during my fight with Wong Jack Man in 1964. The fight, though I was victorious, lasted longer than I felt it should have. Afterwards, I was deeply dissatisfied with my own performance. I felt winded, and I felt my classical training had in some ways limited my options and my endurance. It was a moment of profound insight. I understood then that no one style could be the best or hold all the answers. Each system, whether it be karate, judo, or boxing, was a piece of the truth, but not the whole truth. To limit oneself to one piece was to deny the totality of combat. It was like looking at the moon through a narrow tube. You see the moon, but you miss the glory of the heavens. From this seed of dissatisfaction, the idea of Jeet Kune Do began to sprout. I started to question everything I had been taught. Why this stance? Why this block? Is there a more direct way? I began to research, to study every form of combat I could get my hands on. I looked at Western boxing for its footwork and powerful punches. I studied fencing for its principles of interception and economy of motion. I looked at wrestling for its grappling and ground fighting techniques. I was not collecting techniques to create a new composite style. Instead, I was searching for the universal principles that underpinned all effective fighting arts. I was on a quest to find the root, not just another branch. This was the true beginning of Jeet Kune Do. At the very core of Jeet Kune Do lies the principle of using no way as way, having no limitation as limitation. This is not a call for chaos, but a call for freedom. It means that the JKD practitioner is not bound by any single style or set of techniques. We do not adhere to the rigid stances of karate or the fixed patterns of traditional kung fu. Instead, we remain fluid, adapting our style to the specific opponent and the immediate situation. The goal is to be like water, which can fit into any container. Against a boxer, we might adopt a longer range and use kicks. Against a grappler, we might focus on trapping and interception to prevent the clinch. The way is determined by the moment, not by a pre-written script. The second key principle is simplicity, directness, and economy of motion. Combat is not a performance, it is a matter of survival and efficiency. Why use a fancy circular block when a simple parry or stop hit will suffice? Why execute a complex series of moves when a single, direct strike to the nearest target will end the confrontation? Jeet Kune Do seeks the most direct line between 2 points. We strip away the non-essentials, the flowery movements that look good but have little practical application. Every motion must have a purpose. This is why the straight lead punch is considered the backbone of JKD's arsenal. It is the fastest, most direct, and most economical tool for reaching the target. Another fundamental concept is the centerline theory, a principle I inherited and modified from Wing Chun. The centerline is an imaginary line running vertically down the center of your body and your opponent's. This line contains most of your vital targets: the eyes, nose, throat, solar plexus, and groin. The core strategy of JKD is to control this center line. You protect your own while simultaneously attacking your opponent's. All our movements, from our stance to our strikes, are organized around this principle. By dominating the center line, you dominate the fight. It is the most efficient path to your opponent's weaknesses and the most crucial line of your own defense. Finally, Jeet Kune Do is built upon the idea of the 5 ways of attack. These are not rigid categories, but a framework for understanding offensive possibilities. They are single angular attack, which is a simple, direct attack from an angle; hand immobilization attack, which involves trapping or immobilizing the opponent's hands before striking; progressive indirect attack, which is a feint followed by the real attack; attack by combination, which is a flurry of multiple strikes; and attack by drawing, which involves baiting the opponent into attacking to create an opening for your counter. These are not techniques to be drilled, but concepts to be understood and applied creatively in the ever-changing flow of combat. I was born in San Francisco in 1940, the year of the dragon, during a time my father, an opera singer, was on tour. We soon returned to Hong Kong, and it was there that my life truly began. I was not a model child. I was energetic, curious, and often found myself in trouble. The streets of Hong Kong were my playground, and they were also a place where proving your strength was a daily necessity. I was involved in numerous street fights, which, while reckless, taught me my first raw lessons about combat. It was this environment that first pushed me toward formal martial arts training. I wanted to be able to defend myself, to feel confident and secure in my own ability. My formal martial arts journey began in my early teens when I was introduced to Sifu IP Man, a master of the Wing Chun style. This was a turning point in my life. Under his tutelage, I found a discipline and a focus that had been missing. I fell in love with Wing Chun. I trained with a passion that bordered on obsession, practicing for hours every day on the wooden dummy with my fellow students and in my own mind. Sifu IP Man taught me more than just techniques. He taught me the importance of balance, of relaxation, and of the philosophy that underpins the physical movements. This period laid the foundation for everything I would later build upon. At the age of 18, I returned to the United States. I finished my high school education in Seattle and later enrolled at the University of Washington, where I studied philosophy. This academic pursuit was just as important to my martial arts development as my physical training. I read the works of thinkers like Krishnamurti, who spoke of shedding conditioning and finding truth for oneself. I saw a direct parallel between this philosophical liberation and the limitations I was beginning to feel within the classical martial arts systems. My mind was expanding, and I started to see that the art of fighting was inseparable from the art of living. My physical training and my philosophical inquiries began to merge into a single path. During this time in Seattle, I began to teach martial arts to support myself. My first school was open to anyone, regardless of their race or background. A controversial decision at the time. This was my first laboratory. Teaching forced me to deconstruct what I knew, to analyze it, and to find ways to explain it to others. It was here that I began to experiment, to incorporate elements from other disciplines, and to move beyond the strict confines of Wing Chun. I was not yet calling it Jeet Kune Do, but the seeds were being sown. I was testing my ideas not just in theory, but in practice with my students and in challenge matches. This was the crucible where my personal expression of martial art began to take shape. The true forging of Jeet Kune Do took place in Oakland, California, after I moved from Seattle. It was here that I opened my second Junfan Gung Fu Institute. The name Junfan Gung Fu was simply my name in Chinese, meaning Bruce Lee's Gung Fu. At this stage, it was still a modified version of Wing Chun, but it was evolving rapidly. I was sparring with practitioners of many different styles, karate, taekwondo, boxing, and with each encounter, my understanding deepened. I saw the strengths and weaknesses of each system. I saw how a boxer's footwork could close distance with incredible speed, and how a judoka's leverage could nullify a striker's power. It became clear that clinging to one system was a form of self-imposed blindness. The infamous fight with Wong Jack Man was the catalyst that turned evolution into revolution. The inefficiency I felt during that encounter haunted me. I had won, but I felt clumsy and exhausted. My classical training had not prepared me for the sheer chaos and stamina required for an all-out, no-rules fight. I realized that training forms and prearranged sets was not enough. One must train for reality. This led me to develop a new rigorous physical conditioning regimen. I began incorporating weight training, intense cardiovascular work, and a nutritional diet, concepts that were honestly revolutionary in the traditional martial arts world at the time. I knew that the body must be a finely tuned instrument capable of expressing the art to its fullest potential. This was when I formally abandoned the idea of styles. I dissolved my schools and began to teach a small private group of students. I told them, I cannot teach you, I can only help you to explore yourself. The name Jeet Kune Do was coined during this period, almost as a temporary label for this process of investigation. I even came to regret giving it a name, as I feared people would once again crystallize it into a new style, missing the point entirely. The focus shifted from teaching a set curriculum to developing the individual's attributes, their timing, their sense of distance, their power, and their adaptability. The goal was to create thinking martial artists, not robots who could only mimic my movements. The process of creation was one of subtraction, not addition. I called it hacking away the unessentials. I would look at a classical technique and ask, is this practical? Is it direct? Is there a simpler way? If a movement was too complex, too ornate, or too dependent on a specific compliant reaction from an opponent, I discarded it. What remained was the core of effectiveness. This is why Jeet Kune Do looks different on every person who practices it. It is not about them conforming to JKD, it is about JKD serving their unique body type, attributes, and spirit. It is a framework for self-expression, a mirror that reflects the individual. One of the most fundamental differences between Jeet Kune Do and classical martial arts lies in the approach to structure. Traditional arts like karate, taekwondo, or many schools of kung fu are built upon a foundation of forms, or kata and pumse. These are prearranged sequences of movements practiced alone, designed to teach techniques, balance, and focus. While there is value in this method, JKD rejects it as its primary training tool. I believe that such patterns create conditioned reflexes that may not be applicable in the dynamic and unpredictable chaos of a real fight. A real opponent does not move like a cooperative partner in a form. Jeet Kune Do, therefore, emphasizes alive, spontaneous training through sparring and drills that simulate real-time combat situations. Another key distinction is the concept of a fixed stance. Many classical arts have deep-rooted stances that provide stability and power for specific techniques. Think of the horse stance in Kung Fu or the front stance in karate. While powerful in their context, these stances can also be immobile and slow to adapt. Jeet Kune Do utilizes what I call the on-guard or Bai-Jong position. It is a mobile, fluid stance borrowed more from fencing and boxing than from traditional martial arts. The body is bladed to present a smaller target, the hands are up to protect the center line, and the lead foot is ready to tap, slide or shuffle. This stance is not a static position but a state of constant subtle motion ready to spring into action at any moment. Furthermore, Jeet Kune Do's arsenal is not limited to a specific set of approved techniques. While a style like Judo focuses on throws and grappling, and Taekwondo emphasizes high kicks, JKD embraces all ranges of combat. We practice kicking, punching, trapping and grappling. We borrow what is useful from any source. If a technique from Western boxing is effective, we use it. If a principle from Filipino Kali is practical, we absorb it. This is not about creating a hodgepodge of different styles. It is about understanding the universal principles of timing, distance, and leverage that make any technique work, and then applying them through the most efficient tool available, regardless of its origin. The art is a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving. Ultimately, the greatest difference is philosophical. Classical arts often present themselves as the one true way. A student is expected to conform to the style, to mold themselves into the shape dictated by the system's founder. Jeet Kune Do does the opposite. It is a style of no style, a framework that encourages the individual to find their own way. It puts the individual first and the system second. The goal is not to become a perfect practitioner of JKD, but to use the principles of JKD to become a more perfect version of yourself. It is a path of self-discovery where the art serves the artist, not the other way around. It is a process of liberation, not accumulation. The principles of Jeet Kune Do extend far beyond the realm of physical combat. They are, at their heart, principles for living a more effective, honest, and liberated life. The core idea of being like water is perhaps the most powerful metaphor for navigating the challenges of daily existence. Life, like a fight, is unpredictable. It presents us with obstacles, changing circumstances, and unexpected opportunities. To be rigid, to cling to a fixed plan or a single way of thinking, is to invite frustration and failure. But if you can be like water, you can adapt. You can flow around obstacles, you can be gentle when needed, and you can crash with immense force when required. It is the art of adapting to the what is of any situation, rather than trying to force it into your preconceived what should be. Consider the principle of simplicity and directness. How often in our lives do we complicate matters unnecessarily? In our communication, we may use vague language instead of speaking our truth directly and honestly. In our work, we may create complex processes when a simpler, more direct path would yield better results. Jeet Kune Do teaches us to hack away the unessential in all aspects of life. It encourages us to identify our primary goal and to find the most efficient path to achieving it. This means decluttering our minds, our schedules, and our relationships, focusing our energy on what truly matters. It's about finding clarity and purpose by stripping away the noise and the superfluous. The concept of using no way as way is a powerful tool for personal growth. We often limit ourselves by defining who we are. We say, I am not a creative person, or I am not good at public speaking. These are self-imposed limitations, rigid styles of being that we adopt. Jeet Kune Do encourages us to have no limitation as limitation. It prompts us to break free from these labels and to explore all facets of our potential. It means being open to new experiences, learning new skills, and constantly challenging the boundaries of our comfort zone. It is about understanding that you are not a fixed entity, but a process of continuous becoming, free to express yourself in any way you choose. Finally, the intercepting principle of JKD can be applied to problem solving. Instead of waiting for a problem to grow into a crisis before reacting to it, blocking and then countering. We can learn to intercept it at its inception. This means being proactive rather than reactive. It involves paying attention to the small signs, anticipating potential challenges, and taking small, decisive actions early on. Whether it's addressing a misunderstanding in a relationship before it becomes a major conflict, or fixing a small issue in a project before it jeopardizes the entire timeline, the principle of interception teaches us to engage with life's challenges efficiently and intelligently, saving us time, energy, and distress. While Jeet Kune Do is expressed through the language of combat, its ultimate purpose is not to teach you how to fight others, but to teach you how to understand yourself. The punches, kicks, and grappling are merely tools, the alphabet of a much deeper language. The true journey of JKD is an inward one. It is a process of peeling back the layers of conditioning, social pressure, and self-imposed limitations to uncover your true, authentic self. Every sparring session is a mirror. It reflects your fears, your anger, your ego, and your courage. To face an opponent is to face yourself in your rawest form. This honest self-confrontation is the beginning of all real growth. The core philosophical tenet is absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. This is a blueprint for personal liberation. It is an invitation to stop blindly following dogma, whether it comes from a martial arts master, a religious text, or societal expectations. It demands that you become a critical thinker, an investigator of your own life. You must test everything against your own experience. If a belief or a habit serves you, if it makes you stronger, more honest, and more alive, then absorb it. If it limits you, if it is merely dead weight from tradition, then have the courage to discard it. This is a continuous, lifelong process. This process naturally leads to the creation of what is specifically your own. Your life, like your martial art, should be an expression of who you are. It should not be a carbon copy of someone else's life, no matter how much you admire them. My Jeet Kune Do is not your Jeet Kune Do. I can point the way, but you must walk the path and discover your own truth. This is the ultimate freedom, the freedom to express yourself honestly and totally, without reservation or apology. It is about cultivating your own unique talents, following your own passions, and building a life that is a true reflection of your individual spirit. The art is a vehicle to help you find the courage to do so. In the end, the goal of Jeet Kune Do is to achieve a state of formless form. It is to reach a point where you are no longer thinking about techniques or principles. You simply are. You react spontaneously, intuitively, and perfectly to the moment. This is a state of mushin, or no mind, where the self-conscious, thinking mind dissolves and action flows effortlessly from your being. This state is not just for combat. It is the state of the master artist, the gifted musician, or anyone who is completely absorbed in their craft. It is the state of being fully present and alive in the moment. This is the ultimate liberation that Jeet Kune Do points toward, a life lived with freedom, honesty, and total presence. My time on this earth was short, but I believe the spirit of Jeet Kune Do is timeless. Its legacy is not contained in a set of techniques guarded by a select few, nor is it found in the films I made. The true legacy of Jeet Kune Do is the flame of curiosity and self-discovery that it ignites in the individual. It is an idea, a philosophy of liberation that continues to resonate with people from all walks of life. Long after my physical presence has faded, it endures because it is not about me, it is about you. It is a challenge to question, to explore, and to become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. The impact of Jeet Kune Do on the world of martial arts has been profound and undeniable. It was a catalyst that helped shatter the rigid walls between different styles. The idea of cross-training, of a boxer sparring with a wrestler, or a karateka learning grappling was revolutionary in my time. Today, it is the fundamental basis of modern mixed martial arts, MMA. The fighters you see competing in cages and rings are living embodiments of the JKD philosophy, whether they know it by name or not. They absorb what is useful from boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, and Jiu-Jitsu, discarding what is not, and adding what is specifically their own to create a personal, effective fighting system. Beyond the martial arts world, the legacy of Jeet Kune Do is its philosophy of personal empowerment. It has inspired countless individuals to break free from their own limitations. It teaches that you are not defined by your circumstances, your background, or the labels others place upon you. You have the power to shape your own reality, to adapt, to grow, and to express your unique potential. This message of self-actualization is universal. It speaks to the artist, the entrepreneur, the athlete, and anyone who seeks to live a more authentic and fulfilling life. The enduring flame of JKD is the belief in the limitless potential of the human spirit. Therefore, Jeet Kune Do is not a relic of the past to be preserved in a museum. It is a living, breathing concept that must be experienced and reinterpreted by each new generation. It is not an answer, but a question. It is not a destination, but a journey. Its importance today is perhaps greater than ever in a world that often encourages conformity and passive consumption. Jeet Kune Do is a call to action. It is a call to be an individual, to think for yourself, to take responsibility for your own growth, and to express your life with the honesty and totality of a perfectly executed strike. The flame was lit, and it is now up to you to carry it forward.